Hello everyone, welcome to the fifth tutorial in this series of Complete Guide to React.js. In this tutorial, I'm going to explain how to write an Hello World application using React. At first, in the last tutorial, I have explained what is Webpack config.js and what is the use of it. And in this tutorial, we are going to use the same Webpack configurations to write the Hello World application. Before starting into the tutorial, um, if you have, I'm not sure like when you are seeing this tutorial, and make sure that you have the Babel core as 6.26. In the recent versions, I found that there is a lot of problem and we were unable to bring up the applications. So if you use this version, this particular version in your package.json, you will resolve those issues. At the end of this tutorial, in the video column and the comment sections, I'll also post this entire package.json so that you can take a look and use it and can download the same. So coming back to this particular tutorial, writing an Hello World application. At first, we will write an HTML. So how to write it? Like a basic HTML, which is nothing but the index.html as we mentioned in the package.json. So I'm going to create one. Going to write index.html, which is the default name which we already mentioned in the Webpack configurations at template section. So in this, I'm going to write some simple basic code for index.html. I'm going to write HTML : it automatically populates, and in this I'm going to write head. When you close it, automatically it will also populate. And over here I'm going to have title, which will appear in the browser. Say for example, I'm going to write React application, and after finishing the head, the basic is you have to write body, and yeah. So in this body, I am going to so in this body, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write some specific HTML component. Say for example, div. You can use paragraph, h1, whatever you want. In this tutorial, I'm going to mention as div, and I'm just going to keep some name for it. Say for example, I'm going to keep it as hat, and make sure that this is the name which should be in line with the JSX file which we are going to create for a React application. And close it, nothing inside it, and we are going to include some script if you want, and source would be nothing but the index bundle.js, and this is also in previous tutorial I have explained like some sample. All the configuration in the Webpack would be bundled into index_bundle.js. So this is done. So my HTML page is created. So right now I'm having something div component called app. Over here I'm going to render some dynamic content. So how am I going to render the dynamic content? This is where my React.js comes into the picture. So in this, I'm going to create a file named app.js. This can also be JSX. Nothing worries, like it can also be JS and JSX. Nothing is going to happen in the compile end, but it is recommended to use JSX because the fast performance of it and the way it compiles If it is in JX, it would be better. So I'm going to use app.js. There is nothing harm in it because we are going to write only a single file, which is just going to return an hello world. So at first, what we have to import in the React file is the first and foremost which we have installed, React. Make sure that this React R is capital and the rest remains small. I'm going to import React as a component module from the package that we had installed. So what is that? React. And inside this React, I'm going to define a class named app, which should be same as the file name, extends component, the module which we import. Right. So make sure you don't get any spell. Return. Sorry, it should be render, and then it should return render a method, and I'm just defining what it needs to render. Return, and over here I'm going to write what it is going to return. Mention this, whereas it should be this docs, close bracket and open bracket, because it's an HTML component. So in this I'm going to write div inside this div. I'm going to write a small code h1, say hello world program, return by 3. So over here I'm also going to end this, like it's like a end of the statement. It just says that it's end of the statement. And this is for render, and this is for class, and it's an extra one we need to note. And export default, whatever the JS file you are using, you should export that by default so that you can use it somewhere else. So this is my React file, first React file. In this I'm going to write, see, whenever an app is called, at that time return this particular HTML. So with the div ID named this, it is going to render. But there should be some file where I am going to mention where to render this, right? So for that we are going to write one file. Any guess what would be the name of that file? The name of that file would be the one which we mentioned in webpackconfig.js as an entry point. So what we mentioned that over here we mentioned it as main.js. So I'm going to create another file, main.js, and in this main.js what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a code saying that this is a React component from React, the module which we imported, semicolon to indicate that it is an end of a statement, import React DOM, the another package that we imported it. This just tells that each and every content is a DOM. What do you mean by DOM? Like document object label? Yeah. So each and every content that is being written, even if it is in HTML, it is a JavaScript basically. So how it is getting written? With the help of React DOM, which is nothing but a module which we imported at the start of this project, imports a document object model wherever it is required. So maybe the fourth line of the code, whichever I'm going to write, would give a clear picture like what I am saying. Dash app.js. And what is app.js? App.js is the external JSX file that we have written. So inside this, what I'm going to write is React DOM dot render, and this is the place we mention where to render, what to render, comma, where to render. So this is the first initial file that gets loaded. That is what we see in the webpack config.js. In this, it imports the React components, whichever that we installed, and in that React DOM.render, we are going to mention what we are going to render, and we are going to mention that as app, and inside a beautiful HTML tag, we need to mention that as an app because it is returning the HTML element, and this would be converted into a JS. Whatever the HTML code that you write, if you see in the right, whatever you are seeing is converted into a JS and sent as a DOM, and that is what this code does. This app.js is nothing but the code that we had already written. So this is the render component which we are calling over here, and it is going to render all the contents inside the app.js over here. And I am also going to tell where to render. So the where to render, how I am going to, in the HTML tag, like how am I going to identify it? See, this is the first page that gets loaded, and in this page we have an ID named called app. You can also keep app1 another thing, but to avoid some confusion, I usually used to keep with the same name, so that if you are writing thousands and thousands of lines of code, so it would be in line with that. Hence the reason I have kept the same name. It is not like mandatory to keep the same name, but in the real JavaScript world, it is recommended to use the same name. So the index.html page is the first page that is going to load. If you just take a look at the webpack config.js over here, I would have mentioned that the index.html in the plugin is the first page to get loaded. So in this index.html, I am going to add something called as an app. This app, whenever this divide loads, render the React component. Is that what is meant over here in this main.js file? So in that main.js file, I'm going to use this particular app component which is present over here, and it is going to put all the HTML over here, and where it is going to put. For that, how you refer is document dot. This is the usual HTML content that we used to write in our HTML world. Document dot get element ID. So the prerequisite is to know HTML better, to know React, and also the JavaScript, basic JavaScript. So this is it. I have created the main.js, and that's it. Whatever the component that we are going to retrieve, it is there. But only one thing that I am going to add over here is Babel.rc, Babel.rc. So what is .babel.rc? In my third tutorial, I have already explained that Babel.rc is nothing but a file which would tell, a Babel is nothing but a file which would tell the document object model would be rendered and need to be displayed that in the browser, right? So those particular things are done by Babel. So I'm going to write that as a presets, and I'm going to mention the environment name. This environment name is nothing but the one which I mentioned in the webpack config, and I'm going to mention it as a React. Treat that as a React, and I'm going to render the React. It's nothing but initializing. In browser, it is initializing. Hey, Babel, initialize React component over here. It is just giving some instructions. So once this is done, I'm just going to save all those contents and click on npm start. Just npm start and click on enter. Automatically a screen would pop up based on what you kept as a default browser, and it would load. See, I mean, when I give npm start, it goes to the package.json, and somewhere in package.json we have mentioned this over here, right? It is loading all the stuff. Webpack, it is loading all this webpack contents, and it goes into the webpack config.js. It opens a browser with the help of the Babel, and Babel communicates what are all the things that needs to be loaded, Babel loader. And how it is going to load is, it is going to consider index.html as the first HTML component, and main.js as the JavaScript that we need to use. So this is how step by step it happens at the backend. Over here it opens the browser for myself automatically, and this is the port number. Localhost 8001 is the one that we used it over here, right? Yeah, so it automatically opens that. Right now your browser is up and running, and it is going to bring the content whatever we have written. So happy coding, and do your hands, keep your hands dirty on the programming. So this is the first React.js code that we had written, and it is executed successfully. Going forward, we will get into the concepts and clarify all the concepts each and every 10 minutes. That's it. Thanks and have a nice day.